Quote, have I said the Jews in a clip? Yes. Does that mean I'm anti-Semitic? No. I'm clip farming. I feel like that's almost worse. Finally, for kind of our very online segment, we're going to discuss a new Netflix documentary that I watched on the plane on the way home from visiting family in Michigan. And it's by Louis Theroux, who is a well-known British documentarian, I guess. I actually wasn't familiar with him before this, but I was very interested in this documentary because it's about like the manosphere and the red pillars and all these like toxic, masculine, alpha male, self-described people and kind of the vision of themselves that they've sold to millions of young men and their very lucrative business models. And he examined it all in a way that ended up being very interesting to me. But his documentary is called Inside the Manosphere, and it focused on a couple of these people. Of course, Myron Gaines, who doesn't go by his real name, of course, which, let's see, I have it here. What is his real name? I think it's Fuddle, something like Amru Fuddle. But I always find it interesting how many of them don't go by their real names. Similarly, HSTikkyTokky, he's the one we covered this the other day, who lied about Piers Morgan and to his face and tried to accuse him of going to Epstein's Island when he never had. And yeah, anyway, really fascinating cast of characters here. So his real name is Harrison Sullivan. He was extensively in the documentary, as well as Justin Waller was briefly featured. And then, yes, Amru Fuddle, aka Myron Gaines of the Fresh and Fit podcast. Clarkson and I were talking about whether we should go on that podcast and roast and debate this guy, but who knows? Maybe we'll do that sometime. Anyway, I'm just going to play you the trailer for the documentary, and then I'm going to launch into my thoughts on what it revealed and also what it didn't examine that left me disappointed. All right, so let's look at that, and then we'll meet back here to discuss.
I did a documentary today with this guy, Louis Theroux. Do you guys know who this is?
Louis Theroux.
He's going to do a hit piece on me?
Careful of this fella, mate. Evil smile.
He's so woke, his wife makes him pee sitting down.
There was a funny moment where he's like,
What do you think Snego's message is?
Do I sound like that? A little bit.
So that's just a teaser for the documentary. I might have to cut it if they try to copyright claim it, but I thought it'd be interesting to just show you the branding and the aesthetic of it all. And that teaser is true to it. It's an interesting combination of this guy, Louis. He's kind of self-deprecating. He just plays the curious onlooker, and he's not like super aggressive or hostile, and he kind of tries to make himself seem non-threatening and really like, oh, I'm just a innocent little journalist. And they're all very hostile and skeptical to him, which I do understand because he's a documentarian and he's not on their team or aligned with them. And they know he's trying to essentially make them look bad or paint them in a non-flattering light. But that was the first thought that I had about this is like, how dumb are these people to agree to be in this documentary? It was never going to go well for you. What'd you think? This British documentarian was going to come follow you around and tell the world how great you are? Seriously? I mean, I get it. It's like hardly a secret. Influencers and streamers are addicted to attention and can't say no to a camera. But really, if they'd had any sense of self-preservation, these manosphere guys, Myron Gaines, HSTikkyTokky, Justin Waller would have all declined to be interviewed for this documentary, not opened up their homes and their lives and their spouses or non-spouses and family all to the cameras and the crew. And these guys were just so shameless about admitting hugely damning things that make them appear to be extreme frauds. And I guess maybe they're not savvy and not bright, maybe, or maybe they just think so little of their audience. They're like, they're never going to notice or care that I'm a hypocrite or that I don't practice what I preach. I don't know, man. But the documentary Inside the Manosphere, it's kind of a journey into this, what I view as a very toxic world of like alpha male influencers. And these guys all claim to be, oh, I'm teaching young men how to have self-respect and how to be masculine, how to succeed in life and how to get and all this stuff. And what's interesting is, and he captures this well in the documentary, these guys all portray themselves very specifically with the Miami high-rise condo and with the attractive women and with the crazy cars they're driving. And their appeal to these young men, it's very clear, seems to be, and we'll come back to this, what I would describe as kind of the influencer ages pyramid scheme, in that these millions of young men who support them and are their fans and financially sustain them, as we will get to, all in part support them because they think these guys have like the key to success and they're going to share with them. Like, oh, I too could obtain this amazing seeming lifestyle and this wealth and this success if I listen to what these guys have to say. But it becomes so clear through the documentary, these guys only have this level of wealth and success because they sell how to have it to the people that watch. So they make most of their money through these shady courses and through these investment schemes that don't really pay off and make a lot of promises they don't deliver, but they get a cut of the revenue and they get to keep, and they do like very hypocritical things and are just so unabashed and unashamed about it. The worst of all of them is this Harrison Sullivan guy, the HSTikkyTokky. He, of course, like all of them, decries the evil of pornography and OnlyFans and how terrible it is, but then he tells Louis Theroux, like under no pressure, it's not like this guy's grilling them. He's just like, oh, so what about this? He tells them that as bad as he thinks it is, as disgusting, he even says he'd disown his daughter if she did it. He also bought an agency that manages OnlyFans girls. And then, even though he tells his fans they shouldn't watch porn, he also promotes OnlyFans girls on the to his Telegram chat and to his fans, and then pushes it on them, and then he gets a cut of the revenue. And this is a direct quote. When I was watching this on the plane, I jotted down a bunch of quotes from these people. Do I agree with it? No. Would I profit of it? Yeah. That's a direct quote. This Sullivan guy, this HSTikkyTokky, offers Theroux under basically no pressure. And I'm like, I don't know, do you just think your audience is dumb or won't notice or care that you're just so inconsistent? He did this as well when the conversation of Bonnie Blue, oh my gosh, Clarkson's going to be so sad I talked about Bonnie Blue without him. Bonnie Blue, Clarkson's my co-host over on the Normal Gaze podcast, of course. Bonnie Blue is that infamous porn star girl who claims to have slept with 1,000 men in 12 hours. She's obviously, to me, kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but kind of hilarious at the same time. And this guy, HSTikkyTokky, tells Theroux that she's absolutely repulsive. But then he's like, wait, but you had her on your stream. You promoted her and helped her grow. And he says, I literally just did that for clout. He just admits it. Like, he says the quiet part out loud. And then this is a very revealing quote. If I'd just done good things, I'd never have really blown up on social media in the first place. Sorry for the terrible accent. But yeah, he says that. If I'd just done good things, I never would have blown up on social media in the first place. And it's like, yeah, we know. But don't you realize how sad this is? And how just deeply emblematic of everything that's wrong with the internet, that the worst people rise to the top, and that it encourages inauthenticity in the name of authentic truth tellers. And then, I mean, this was really crazy. He's like, because obviously all of these guys also dabble in like a particular brand of politics that often gets fringe and nasty very quickly. And at one point, he tells this Harrison HSTikkyTokky dude, tells Louis Theroux, quote, have I said the Jews in a clip? Yes. Does that mean I'm anti-Semitic? No. I'm clip farming. Oh? I feel like that's almost worse. That I'm not actually anti, because he also like pointed out one of my camera guys is Jewish, and I'm like, congrats, do you want a cookie? You're still getting on camera to millions of impressionable young people and inciting hate against Jewish people. Like, this is an interesting question, actually. Is it worse that he doesn't believe it and is doing it? I feel like that's almost worse, because if you were a true believer blinded by hatred, I mean, that's still wrong and bad, but it's like, I guess you're at least in your own sick way doing what you think is right. Here, you're just a total cynic, and you don't care who gets hurt in the process. That's despicable. And this guy is also just like, HSTikkyTokky in particular in this documentary comes off as fundamentally low IQ and as very, very cynical and dishonest. But he's not the only one that gets exposed as a fraud. The Justin Waller, another one of these alpha male personalities, is featured, and he's like weirdly cagey about answering basic questions like, how many kids do you have? Like, he just really doesn't want to divulge basic information about his life. And then it kind of makes sense, I guess, why that's the case, because clearly the way he lives is not super consistent with what he preaches. I mean, he eventually admits that he has one-way monogamy with his wife, where she's monogamous, but he can have sex with other women all he likes. But he also says he doesn't promote that or believe that most men should do it, or every man should do it. And it's like, also, he refers to her as his wife, but then also reveals, well, we're not actually legally married. It's just interesting. It was just very weird. He came off the least bad, Justin Waller, of all the people in the documentary by far, but there was just a weird caginess to him that it's like, well, why did you agree to be in the documentary and then you don't want to answer any questions about your life or reveal any information about it? But then you still like sign the slips and the forms and let the cameras come to your home, and it just was weird. Anyway, of course, star of this show, another star of the show is Myron Gaines, Amru Fuddle, who is just one of the most unhinged, obnoxious people on the internet. He's so anti-Semitic. He's so hateful. He's so bigoted and extreme. But he's also apparently just like totally two-faced, because he really gets exposed in this documentary, because essentially he talks this, when it's just him and Louis Theroux, the documentarian, he talks this big game to Louis about how his girlfriend knows her place and knows that he's going to have multiple wives and she's just going to be one of the girls on his roster. And then Louis like, can we get Angie out here? Because they're at his apartment. Can we get her on camera? And then he interviews her, and the look on her face when he's saying this stuff, one, he immediately kind of steps back the things he was saying once she's in the room. But then even when he is saying it, she's like, and you could tell she is not fully on board with all of this, with being a sister wife or whatever you call it. And she's very surprised by this suggestion. And you can tell that he is behaving very differently with her off camera. He might be on camera saying, I tell my make me a sandwich. And then off camera, he's like, yes, babe, what can I do to help you today? Like, I'm exaggerating, but it's very clear from this interaction, is a different thing that's happening behind the scenes than the way he presents it to the public. And maybe somehow she was not truly aware of just how extremely he was portraying his relationship with women and their relationship publicly, because now, after this documentary, in the months since it was filmed, she has left him and spoken about it publicly. So it's really fascinating, because I found this consistent theme across the documentary of all these people. There's a significant gap between the way they present themselves in public and the way they actually live their lives and the way they make their money. I mean, almost all of the stars of this Manosphere space are selling expensive, scammy courses, promising to teach you how to get rich and succeed like they did. And of course, obviously, most of the people who buy the courses aren't suddenly becoming millionaires or making all this money. And also, they're selling very shady, many of them are very shady investment schemes where people often lose money. That are very low rated and have like low consumer ratings. They're promoting like gambling and other things where their fans are going to lose money. And they sustain this like high flying lifestyle with all these silicone filled women and expensive vehicles and all this stuff with this false idea. And the false idea is that all these people, you could have this too. And that's why it reminds me of a pyramid scheme, because they're making money off of the idea that they have money, and you could have money if you give them money to learn how to make money, but they only have the money because you think they have the money and they can teach you how to have the money. It's like there's no actual thing that they've done or can teach you or skill. And unless you're going to be able to find more people who you can then say you have money and that you'll teach them the secret to how they have money, but eventually there's not going to be people. Like, it's a pyramid, and as the base widens and widens, it gets weaker and weaker. It's like the thing can't hold up, and it really does all seem to be a bit of a pyramid scheme to me. A lot of the ways that these people make their money, and it does not seem to be ethical at all. But again, that's not surprising. That's not new. And I guess it was just revealing in a lot of ways that these people are frauds. But the documentary at the end of the day wasn't earth-shattering or that interesting to me because it didn't explore any of the deeper questions here. I mean, anybody who's paying attention already knew that these guys were kind of fraudulent and didn't have a lot happening upstairs. Like, nobody was mistaking Myron Gaines for some honest, insightful genius, right? Like, people understand to some extent at this point that these guys are trolls and grifters. But what they really didn't explore in the documentary very much, they kind of hint at the edges of it in a couple places, is like, well, why are these guys even popular in the first place? What was the social and cultural phenomenon that led millions of young men to be so culturally and socially disenfranchised or disillusioned that they ever fell prey to these kinds of grifters? Because, like, there has to be something that's gone extremely wrong to the point where millions of people even are susceptible to this kind of thing. And, like, what is that and how do we fix it is a much harder question than just, aren't these people absurd hypocrites? Like, yeah, of course. I mean, to hint at this, at one point in the documentary, they interview a couple fans of the alpha male red pill dudes, and they literally say, oh, I like their content because as men, we are born without value and born without worth. And we have to build up value and become successful. And I'm like, that is so sad. You think that you are born without value as a human? You don't think that you have intrinsic dignity? Because they think women are born with value and men are born worthless, is what they explain. And I'm like, who taught you that? Who told you that? How did you ever lose sight of the fact that we're all of equal value and dignity under God or human rights or whatever you believe in? And it's like, that was such a powerful moment to me, and they just moved on and they didn't really explore it. And how do we help these people see that, like, the people saying they have the answers are snake oil salesmen? But also, what are the other answers? Where are the positive visions of masculinity for these men to be inspired by and look to? All of that, those questions, I think, are more important, but they're much harder to answer. And that's a lot more difficult, I think, than just showing how much of a grifters these guys are. But I would maybe recommend watching it if you're particularly interested in this cast of characters, but otherwise maybe not. The summary basically covered all the interesting parts of it. What do you guys think, though? Will you still be tuning in to the latest red pill commentary from Myron Gaines and all these people? Let me know in the comments what you think, and make sure to subscribe if you aren't. Hit the like button, and do consider becoming a channel member to support my work, because I call out the crazies across the spectrum, and that's not always popular or the quickest ticket to success and fame and money, but people like you guys supporting me, becoming channel members helps a lot. So hit the join button or the link in the description. Anyway, guys, that'll be it for today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk again real soon.